What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp, and
Shriveled banana skins.
today's film is
Annabelle.
Anal Smell. I mean, Annabelle, 2014.
I think yours is more fitting. Anal smell.
Who Gives a Fuck movie from 2014.
You know what's pretty funny is the main actress's name is actually Annabelle, and it's
I know, I was going to bring that up, but thanks for jumping the gun. A couple begins to experience terrifying supernatural occurrences involving a vintage doll shortly after their home is invaded by satanic cultists. Directed by John R. Leonetti, written by Gary Doberman, starring Ward Horton, and I wasn't meaning any inflection with that name, Annabelle Wallace, Alfre Woodard, and a whole bunch of other people. So
that's an interesting name, Alfre, for a
Alfre.
girl. I've never heard of such a thing.
I can mention she got it off of the child from our gang, the Little Rascals. Very good. I'm hilarious. So this movie is about...
wow! Do you know what? This says it all. The first movie this guy directed was Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That sums it up. I should have just looked at that and then spared us.
Gosh darn it, Danny. You made me watch another movie directed by this guy. Once I saw Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I would have sworn I would never ever see a movie this piece of shit on shoes
How does he
ever
keep
made.
getting... He has more projects that he's worked on since this point. How?
This
Like,
cocksucker Mortal Kombat
who
Annihilation.
hires him?
Before we even talk about this movie, let's just talk about the horror of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That's one of the worst...
I'll never forget when Johnny Cage dies in the first 5 minutes.
It was one of the worst movie experiences I've ever seen ever in my life. I remember I loved Mortal Kombat, the first one. People can love it or leave it, but for a video game movie...
I mean, it's super cheesy, but I love it.
For a video game movie, it still probably is the best adaptation for a video game I've ever seen. Even with Raiden having long hair and not his hat and not fighting, who was my favorite character in the game. Yeah, Raiden was cool. You got to like him because he was a mentor. Because if you have a Superman in the movie, you don't really need anybody else.
Shao Kahn, or not Shao Kahn, Shang
Tsung, right. So anyway,
yeah,
the first movie...
awesome. Like, he was perfect.
The first movie was great, right? So a little bit of history of Mortal Kombat. We watched that, and then, the Mortal Kombat 2, the game coms out. Mortal Kombat 2, I think, was out by the time the first movie was being finished. So when the second one came out, you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna see Sector." It was actually, it might have been actually part 3 came out by the time the second game was out because I don't.
Well, yeah, because we knew who Shao Kahn was. Because Shao Kahn, we already knew about Cyrex and all this kind of stuff.
Shao Kahn. How many times? It's Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn sounds like
whatever.
Shao Kahn sounds like
this shit's from when I was like, this is like 20 years old.
Shao Kahn is like the name of an African American woman that sings "I Feel for You." That's actually Shaka Khan. But anyway, I remember Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We were like hyped for it. We saw the trailers. They like basically aped the first movie with the trailers, and we see Shao Kahn in this movie because he came out at the beginning of the first film, and within the first 3 minutes of this movie, I knew I was in big trouble because I'm there watching it with my friends, and you see Liu Kang, you see Katana, and then they show Johnny Cage, and he's like, "Hey, that's not Johnny Cage from the first movie." Then they show Sonya Blade, I'm like, "Hey, that's not Sonya Blade."
Not Sonya, yeah.
and the guy in the audience was like, "Man, that ain't the people. This is bullshit." Like you. Audience yelling it, and that movie
they dodged a bad movie. And Sonya Blade went on to be, a hot teacher in Billy Madison.
Yeah,
so
she was hot. But oh man, was that Mortal Kombat Annihilation one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen. And you can even
remember they built up Shiva, like that four-arm Goro lady.
Yeah, and she built
her up, and she gets smushed by something, and that's it.
She just looks like she looked like a Puerto Rican woman with 4 arms. It was really bad. And then the guy, who was that guy who was half bull, half human? He looked like a Hispanic man. Yeah, he looked like a Hispanic man, half bull. And I tell you, the worst part of that movie, to me at least, was when Raiden came back. Because Raiden was played by Dexter's dad. I think that was him. I can't be sure. Yeah, I think it was him. But he came out and, like, because he had long hair, he had that cloak, and he had that, whatever the hat was called.
Did he lay down the rules for Mortal Kombat about
he cut his hair off, and he comes back halfway into the movie, And I shit you not, when I saw this, I got visibly upset in the theater, even though nobody could see me because it was dark. But he goes, like the new look, and he like presents himself because he got a cool crew cut haircut, and I was like, I can't. What is this? It was one of the worst movies ever made.
You know what? Somebody thought it was great because they gave him a career.
Yeah, you know what? So anyway, this Annabelle is a spin-off of the Conjuring horror films, which is about the sort of cartoonish versions of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And anyway, so this film is a spin-off of the Conjuring film. It actually shows sequences from the first film. Actually, the opening of the first film is shown here, which shows those two girls handing the Annabelle doll over to somebody and saying, "Oh, we got away with whatever." Who gives a fuck? Anyway, so this movie is basically trying to ape the James Wan style of popcorn horror cinema, which is clean cut, not graphic horror, but more like spooky jump scare films.
Very formulaic. Very formulaic.
And this movie can't even get it right. I thought maybe only one sequence worked in this film, as in kind of being a little not spooky, but more like intense.
I mean, the spooky part was when the thing ran at the door. That was a little scary looking. But
I only thought the intense part was when she was sewing, and the sewing was intercutting with the Jiffy Pop on the stove. And you're just waiting to see that
To me, I was watching that part like, why the fuck are they showing popcorn? I know what's going to happen. I knew every part that was going to happen before it happened.
I like the fact that the woman's in her apartment, which is a fairly decent-sized apartment, and she still couldn't smell popcorn burning or popcorn being done or hearing it because she's so engrossed on TV. Yeah. Like, you can smell, right? I mean,
well, it was the 1960s. Back then, women weren't as smart, according to history.
Christ. Send your emails
I'm not saying I believe this.
Daniel from Hardy Construction. Anyway, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying people were sexist back then.
So how does this film start out, Danny, besides that opening with the nurse girl who's handing in the Annabelle doll?
What, the cultist killing the neighbor? Yes. Is that what you're talking about?
Right,
yeah,
right.
So we see like two human people. They're not demons
it's
or whatever.
Mia and her husband, John Gordon, two of the most milquetoast, boring protagonists for a horror film. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, it's a doctor and his, wife who's newly pregnant.
At that moment, he's studying to be a doctor, I believe.
He's studying to be a doctor. And then, through the window, you see the neighbor get killed and they're talking about Charles Manson and stuff on TV, so it's in the 1960s. And then, the killers of the neighbors come over and stab the wife, and then the cops come and shoot them, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, and also, Annabelle was just given to her as a kind of newborn baby gift because she collects dolls, and apparently she really likes, freaky, horrifying dolls. Anybody that gets a doll like that and thinks it's cool, cute or something, deserves to be possessed.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that... I've gone, when you go on YouTube and you just start finding bizarre videos, there are sections of, there are not sections, but groups of people who collect these dolls that are they've got to be $5,000 dolls, and they they look ultra realistic, and they collect them, and they actually, give them baby names. They go around, and these are from scary. young girls to older women. Because usually you're thinking maybe these are women that lost their children in real life, and they're
who are serial killers.
Oh, right. But then there's girls who are 14. They sell these dolls later, and these dolls are thousands of fucking dollars. And you just look, and they treat them like real babies. It's bizarre. It's not if you collect
scary.
the nice.
There used to be a shop near my house actually, and every time I'd walk past a window, I'd be kind of scared because they're all fucking in the window, and they're probably not thousands of dollars, those ones, but they were hundreds. You could tell they were really well worked and made of wood and everything, and it's just so creepy.
And it's weird because it's if you say if you collect McFarlane toys, you kind of just put that on a wall, but these women take care of these dolls like they're real babies or something. It's very strange. Who am I to judge anybody?
That people that insane are playing with dolls and not having actual babies.
They might actually probably be better parents. Who the hell knows? Because they'd be hawks on their children.
That's not good.
Anyway, so the Annabelle does come from the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren. If you've seen The Conjuring, you know that they had, I forget the actors who played him. It was Patrick...
It's the guy that's the
Patrick Wilson
dude from Watchmen.
Yeah. Patrick Wilson and that hot chick from Bates Motel. I forget her name. She was in a bunch of movies. Anyway, so Ed and Lorraine Warren are these paranormal investigators. I think one of them is more of spiritually inclined, like she can. I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Anyway, so these people have made a lot of money from the 70s. They've gotten very famous. It's very hard to, I guess to explain who those people are, you have to really look them up. I know.
They were like paranormal investigators.
Were they a part of the Amityville Horror? Maybe, I'm not sure. They were a thing about the about the doll from the actual doll that this film is based on. I bet you they made up a whole fucking bullshit storyline for this film because obviously it sounds like.
There's no way it's like the way the movie shows it.
They just needed. I'm sure the real version of the story is like way more tame. Because I'm sure there wasn't a real pregnant woman running away from Satan or whatever monster was flying after them. And actually, Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann doll. If you remember Raggedy Ann and Andy, those toys from the very early '80s, like they're almost like non-existent at this point. They're like, I'm sure for more collectors, but Raggedy Ann and Andy looked like kind of Candyland sort of characters, and they were. I think we might have had them in the house. And my sister. Okay, so here's.
I've definitely seen them. Yeah.
So, from thewarrens.net, which is their website, Annabelle, the Curse of the Devil Doll, housed in the Warrens Occult Museum. Let's see how close this is to the film version of what we just saw.
Okay.
In 1970, a mother purchased an antiqued Raggedy Ann doll from a hobby store. The doll was a present for her daughter Donna on her birthday. Wow, yeah, it sounds close. Donna, at the time, was a student in college. Oh, yes, exactly. Preparing to graduate with her nursing degree and resided in a tiny apartment with her roommate, Angie. Oh, so these are the people from The Conjuring itself, from the first film. So I'm assuming these are the people that they didn't fill in the story. A nurse as well. Pleased with the doll, Donna placed it on her bed as a decoration and didn't give it a second thought until a few days later. With that time, both Donna and Angie noticed that there appeared to be something very strange and creepy about the doll. The doll apparently moved on its own, relatively unnoticeable movements at first, like change in position, but as time passed, the movement became more noticeable. Don and Angie would come home to find the doll in a completely different room from which they had left it.
This is the real story, right?
Yeah, the real. Put quotes on that. Sometimes the doll would be found cross-legged on the couch. Oh my god! Oh, could you imagine a $150 million movie right there? A doll crossing its legs. I would shit my pants watching that with its arms folded. Oh, so the doll was giving some sassy movements to these people. Holy shit!
Why would they just destroy the doll? Just destroy the doll.
Because then she couldn't.
I'm looking at these characters. Like, just fucking take a saw and cut off the doll's head and burn it. What are you doing?
Other times it was found upright, standing on its feet, leaning against a chair in the dining room. Wow, this is a sassy doll. If the doll could have if the doll could have done that,
it sits in different positions.
If it could have done that urban head shake, when it tilts its head left and right, then it would have been real scary. Yeah. Several times, Donna placing the doll on the couch before leaving for work would return home to find the doll back in her room. Oh man,
what is it?
No wonder.
Get your hands away from my nuts. I'm trying to think how it goes. Hold on.
Fuck you talking about?
It's a guy from Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Anyway.
He says this quote, get your hands away from my... I'm looking it up. Whatever.
So anyway, yeah, so that story, obviously, they couldn't find... supposedly these movies are based on actual events that happened. You can watch The Conjuring and be like, that's bullshit. None of that happened. But because, it's based on the events, it's not, based on a true story, lets them get leeway to make a whole bunch of horse shit up. Like, in The Conjuring, the best scene to me in the movie was the possession scene where she's in a chair floating in the air. That's bullshit. I don't believe that happened, but whatever. That was the best part of that shitty movie.
You're a non-believer, you. Come on.
And in Annabelle, they had to make up a backstory for this doll. For them to, make it scary. So they put this whole... And trust me, when the first time... I had seen, basically, the part where, the words were scrawled on the ceiling with crayon. Why a mother would have crayon for basically a 6-month baby? Who knows? Anyway, so there was writing on the ceiling saying, give up her soul. That's the only part I saw, and I was, watching it, and I was, at how cheap the scares were. She's screaming at the doll, and I was like this.
Rolling my eyes at every part.
But that was
was going to happen.
I had seen that maybe like a month ago, and I was like, oh shit, I'm never gonna watch this movie. But you know what happens?
Get those nuts away from my face. That's
I tell Danny, I'm like, hey Danny, okay, there's another movie that I want to watch that's just recently come out, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm like, okay, you pick a movie. Then he goes Annabelle, and I was like, oh man. Oh man.
The
I was
reason
like,
I
oh
chose it
boy.
is because it's recent and somewhat recent, and for whatever reason, Time Magazine or something named it the scariest movie of 2014. So
Bullshit.
I actually looked up. So no, they did. So I looked up 2014 horror movies out of curiosity to see what it's up against to make it the scariest.
Time Magazine said this?
I don't know. Look it up.
No wonder that shit is only online. No wonder Time Magazine is only like the internet only, or is it still? I guess they still have.
You look it up. I'm going to read off what are the scariest movies that came out in 2014, in my opinion, or good movies that came out. We have Babadook, Housebound, Starry Eyes.
Ooh, those are good.
Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I'm looking at a list that I typed in 2014. So it's like just those 4 movies. Tusk, like,
are much better. Yeah,
It Follows.
No, not
These
Tusk.
movies are like infinitely better than Annabelle. I don't understand. ABC's
I don't
a
get
dump
it.
too.
And here's the thing, when I started watching it, and I was watching the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, I was like, okay, it's not horrible, because it had the whole cult angle. And I was like, what? Okay, is this a movie about cult people? Because I was like, then that's pretty badass. But, of course, they get rid of the cult angle. And this movie is like a weird, this is almost like a guy who wrote this was thinking of a male's feminist version of Child's Play, because basically, okay, so at the beginning of the film, this couple, they know this other couple, an older couple whose daughter has run away to join a cult, or just ran away and they didn't know where she was. They're in church. What area was this? Was this all in California, right? Because I know that
Santa Monica, yeah.
I know. Okay, because I was kind of confused that the couple moves to Pasadena halfway through the film, and then they go to the same church, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" So anyway,
I don't know how far things are in California.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. So that's why I was kind of confused. But anyway, the couple, or maybe they just really like that church. So anyway, the couple, one night while they're home, the daughter of that older couple comes back and slaughters them for satanic reasons, and for some reason, I assume that. I assumed when the younger couple looks through the window, the satanic people look through the window and saw them looking back, and just assumed that they were kind of caught out. So the young husband goes and checks on the bodies. He finds that the bodies are dead. I mean that the older couple are dead, and these 2 satanic people have broken to the house and start attacking them. They stab at the young wife, which I was kind of surprised that they actually did that. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. And the young daughter, who is now a satanic, decides she says, I like your doll, and then she kills herself and bleeds over the doll, much like Charles Lee Ray from Child's Play.
Well, he does a whole chant and stuff.
Yes, that would have been cool. I imagine, how much better would if they just had that actor in this movie, whatever his name is, the guy who plays Chucky.
They just put in clips of Brad Dourif.
No, imagine if the movie's playing and every 2 minutes they just randomly put a clip of Child's Play. Like, how better would this movie be? Like, even has nothing to do with the movie. We just
like the wife when the wife Mia, she's when she's like bashing the doll against the crib. If instead they put the scene where Andy's mom is in the elevator with Chucky, like, bashing him around. And then it shows the scene where they throw him in the fire, like, right, it just clips in and then goes back to, like, the regular movie.
It really is a shitty version of Child's Play, and it's a Child's Play meets, like, it's trying to be Rosemary's Baby at the same time. It's really just poorly done. It's just a very boring movie.
It's just it's not even, like... Put it this way, if there weren't like 40 other movies of exactly this premise, it maybe would be a decent movie. The acting is okay, and there is scary stuff. It's just I've seen it so many times by the same directors and producers. Like, this film is
a patchwork of other horror films, but just lazily put together. Because at least with James Wan, because basically what this movie is trying to do is do the ultra, like, sleek or ultra. I'm trying to find the word. Toned down horror movie, just like the Conjuring or what was The Conjuring and what was the other one? What the hell was that first movie that started off his career?
The one with the Jewish book?
No. The one What the hell was that? Anyway, The Conjuring, and then whatever the first movie that James Wan did, where they just did the third film and it went right down the toilet. I can't think of the name of the movie. It had Patrick Wilson in it too. Insidious, right? Insidious, the third movie came out and went right in the toilet. But this one, like, they're trying to. At least those movies had sort of
and Saw.
At least those James Wan films had a mood to them. You know what I mean? They had a feeling to them. And this doesn't have it. It feels like it's just somebody aping the movie. Like they had a DVD of the movie and we're watching it while they were directing, and they're like, let's do this. Because what in this film do they think is like really scary? Because it's like they're doing lazy jump cuts, because it's not it, or not jump cuts, to jump scares, and it's just very fucking boring. And you're like, this is like...
Well, again, if we didn't see like 30 other movies made by the same guy, we probably wouldn't be saying all of this negative stuff. But it's just very like... It's like, okay, you just copy and paste it, basically.
John R. Leonetti was the cinematographer. This one directed by... he did the cinematography for The Conjuring. That's why he got this job. So I guess instead of directing, he just did the visuals for the film. So that's probably why he was on board for this fucking movie, and he just screwed it up as well. This movie, I think, didn't do well in the theaters anyway.
James Wan did Saw. That's what got him his career.
Yeah, but then he really got big with Insidious. Insidious was really big.
He's doing Aquaman. I didn't know that.
Oh boy. I'll be in line for that one.
Khal Drogo's in it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Oh man, that was fantastic. I actually like Batman v Superman. I don't understand why people went crazy over it. So that obviously people listening now would be like, "Wow, your taste is shit." But with Batman v Superman,
I still haven't seen it, but I'm going.
Here's the thing with Imagine like if you make a superhero film, like take a Marvel film, and you take out all the levity and the humor of it, and that's what a DC film is. That's what they've done with. Even like Batman Returns and Batman and Robin, like those had like comedy bits and those lighthearted. Like this, they're taking themselves too serious, but it's fine because I watch all the basically animated Justice League cartoon movies that come out, and I like them, because they're really like serious.
No, they're great. I love all the cartoons,
and I like them a lot. And this is kind of what carried over with Batman v Superman for myself. But people hated those fucking movies, and I couldn't understand why. But I think it's a whole, Marvel versus DC. I was going in not wanting to like it, but I enjoyed it. But you know what? Well, I don't know what the fuck people want from a movie with Batman versus Superman. They cannibalized two of the best storylines of those fucking movies, of those Batman cartoons, like like Superman dying. I'm sorry if it's a spoiler, but you can just tell from the trailer he's going to drop dead in that movie.
You better put a spoiler at the beginning of this.
They took the Superman dying angle, which they could have made in its own film. And they put that in there, and then they took I think Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which is one of the better comic books where Frank Miller wrote, where he comes back as an older guy and fucks up Superman. They took two of those things, which could have been their own films. You know what I mean? They could have been, and they actually made an animated version of The Dark Knight Returns, which I suggest everybody watch. And they just put it in one film because Zack Snyder wants to he really wants to make Watchmen all over again, but he can't make Watchmen all over again because Watchmen is Watchmen. You know what I mean? It's like probably the most...
Yeah.
I
think it's cool that they're going for like the idea of Superman is like an alien invader angle. I think that's cool because...
Yeah, but a lot of people... What a lot of people find weird is that they kill Superman now. You could probably try to kill him off later on in another 2 movies from now, but now, you know what I mean? It's like in the first movie, they're going to keep killing him in every fucking version of the movie. I don't know.
Well, that I don't know, but I just like the idea that this idea of like Superman is not like this lovable.
That's another thing, which is because myself, I don't really give a shit about Superman. But even when I was watching this, I was like Superman's like bothered to be helped by people. He's like miserable. He's not like, how Superman, if you've ever seen the cartoons, like Superman is like, he's like he's sort
like
of a blank slate. Yeah, he's a Boy Scout. He's a nice guy. In these movies, they try to give him depth by making him depressed and sad all the time. And you're like, all right, enough. Like, why are you even helping people? Just put a smile on or something. He's like depressed throughout the whole fucking movie. Like, he has a look on his face and he's like, what are you doing this for? Go move to fucking Hawaii if you don't want to do this shit.
Where's he gonna go, though? He's alone. He's an alien.
I guess. I don't know. But I don't know. Whatever. That was my review for Batman v Superman. So anyway, back to Annabelle.
There's nothing else to say about Annabelle.
There's nothing. Okay, but we have to. We have to fill some sort of quota about talking about this dumb movie. So the couple are attacked by these satanic cult, and the blood that has gone into this Annabelle doll obviously has not possessed it, because later on in the
Annabelle.
film they say that Annabelle isn't possessing the doll, but the creature, this doll was possessed way before this film has even started. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I was a little confused.
Yeah,
It's
it's very
is
stupid.
it a ghost or is it a demon? In
Because
any
you do
case,
see
I think
Annabelle's-
it's really cheap how they end the film. They're going to take this nice lady that they only introduced
Right.
very recently, and they're going to sacrifice her and happily ever after. Oh, she's
and
burning
here's the
in hell
thing,
for eternity, but happily ever after.
another thing, they ripped off another Child's Play scene with a guy driving with Chuck. Like, you know how the cop was driving with Chucky in the car, and then Chucky tries to attack him. Like, they even have that sort of feeling when the priest
with the plastic or whatever. Yeah.
I like that they have. It's so funny because the guy playing Father Perez, I was surprised his name was Perez. I was like, "Is a Spanish? They allowed a Spanish guy to be a priest in the '60s in America? I thought they would have strung him up or something."
In any case, they're going to make this nice lady have a bookstore in this racist time, and then they're going to kill her.
I know. Yeah, it was bizarre to have this. So they have this nice African American woman, Alfred Woodard, playing Evelyn. You've seen her and everything, and it's like a really. It's
yeah,
a
I definitely
role.
recognized her.
It's a role beneath her because Alfred Woodard is a good actor, and you've seen her and everything, and she's just like, oh, I lost my daughter, and she tried to commit suicide before, you can see, because she had a slash mark on her wrists. And anyway, her whole point is, and I knew as soon as I was the whole you got to kill yourself for the daughter scene, I was like, she's gonna kill herself. So you're gonna tell me this woman's gonna give her soul to the devil for some couple, right? And she might not be reunited
she's
with.
paying atonement for her own daughter, I guess. But
here's the thing.
I found it kind of lame. It was
let's say you believe in the afterlife, so you're gonna risk putting yourself in eternal damnation forever and never seeing your daughter again, so you can let another family. I don't. And then they gave some bullshit.
You could let this nice lady that you met 3 times.
Yeah, and they give some bullshit excuse. You hear the priest talking about it. God will forgive. God will let her ascend into heaven, so you wouldn't feel like shit that this character killed themselves. Get the hell out of here.
He doesn't know any better. He doesn't know what he's saying.
And then, oh man, it's so bad.
He's just guessing. He's just doing guesswork. She's fucking in hell right now as we're speaking. There's a demon stabbing her with a pitchfork as she floats around in a lake of shit and fire.
Because basically the whole movie, from the time after the cult attack happens, it's basically anyway. So the shit drops on the floor. It's just like crap. You hear stuff happening out of screen. There's a scene where she's washing, like from Rosemary's Baby, where she's in the washing room. Remember, she meets that other girl in the washing room. I'm sorry, the laundry room. And they have this whole scary scene in the laundry room. Although I don't think it was scary.
The creepy, the one that was originally in her place to be the
right, yeah. But this scene was actually sort of effective. Like when she goes into the elevator and the lights turn off, and you hear the baby screaming. But I was like, I've seen this before. This scene reminded me of playing Max Payne, the original PC shooter, because there's a scene in that game where you have to play Max Payne. He's having a nightmare because in Max Payne, if anybody who played the game, Max Payne is a cop whose wife and child are murdered by gang thugs and stuff. And then
my brother loved that game.
It's a great game. Even from the first game is great. But anyway, in one of the sequences in the game, you're having a nightmare and you have to run through this blood trail. And it's just like a black screen, and you're running on this trail of blood, and you have to run on the right way to get to the end of the stage. And the closer and the more you run, you hear your child screaming, crying and screaming. It's really effectively disturbing sequence. And the louder the child gets means that you're getting closer to the end of the nightmare. And I was like, God damn, was that so much better than this scene in this movie? Because this movie is just completely fucking boring. It's just
very lame. And you know what's shocking? Box office. Annabelle earned $84 million in North America and $171 million in other territories. How?
Wow, so it made money. I thought this movie didn't make any fucking money. Surprising.
No, it made $257 million. And
how much was the
$6.5 million?
For how much?
$6.5 million.
Wow. Well, I guess I can't say shit now because this is the biggest.
That just shows you that people don't value art. People are saying that Babadook is not a good movie. It's you're fucking crazy. The people that like this movie don't like Babadook. What? Who are these people? They're probably voting for Donald Trump.
Ooh, political. Oh, I'm scared. But yeah, I guess this is probably the biggest hit that John R. Leonetti has. But it was basically handed to him because it is part of the Conjuring brand, and it does have a brand. And Conjuring 2 is coming out, so I mean that's going to make money. I assume,
Conjuring 2 will be like a way higher quality movie. They wouldn't.
Oh
let the
yeah,
same
and I'm
show
sure
go
it would
with
be
that.
put way together because, like I said, this film did look like a film student version of somebody
It's a
trying to
money
do the
grab.
Conjuring.
This movie is a money grab. That's it.
And I like that they're
But
trying
whatever.
to and I like that they're trying to effectively do sort of a clean horror film. You know what I mean, where it doesn't need to have violence. And I love violence. I'd rather see violence and horror and gore in a movie, but it's interesting to see one that's relying more on that sort of. I can't say Steven Spielberg kind of horror because even the Poltergeist shit had some frightening
it's
shit
like
in
you
there.
just said.
Well, he produced it. But
Whatever. This one that we were referencing before.
what are you talking about?
With the cult, from the '60s, with Mia Farrow, whatever. I can't
Oh,
remember
Rosemary's
the
Baby, right?
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby doesn't have like violence really or anything extreme like that, but it's really, really good. This is not good at all. So that's it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. Otherwise, I mean, there's nothing really to discuss with this film. Like the main characters are very boring. The wife is cute. The woman Annabelle Wallace playing her is like very cute.
She's very hot.
Everybody's a good actor. Ward Horton looks sort of like a generic guy. Alfred Woodard is good, but she's wasted. I mean, there's nothing to me. It wasn't scary.
I think the priest is good. The priest is really good.
He's good. But they even I like that part where the part where he takes the photo of. I swear I thought they were gonna have a photo of like you see the ghost over their shoulder, something stupid like that, which they actually didn't do.
I thought so too.
I would have laughed if somebody like after he was in the hospital because he falls down the stairs, like somebody like processes all the footage and there's like tons of photos of naked choir boys and stuff, and he's like, oh no, don't look at that, no, he's like in the hospital bed and the police come and arrest him, and that's the sequel.
Oh, no.
And then he goes to the
You see
Lorraine
the ghosts of like all these children just crying.
and they're holding their butts, and you see him
And
go
you
to
see like Jared from Subway like
when he's a kid.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say he comes over to comfort the priest.
He's a time traveler. He learned occultism in his prison cell, and he is able to go through time. So he helps this priest.
He
and
got beaten up in jail. I heard recently.
Yeah, he did.
You told me about that actually. That's hilarious.
And they become like it's a spin-off of the priest going to Ed and Lorraine Warren, and he's telling them, "Oh yeah, I see these ghosts of these kids that that I've never met, and I need you to help me." And Ed and Lorraine Warren like look at each
They're
other.
framing me.
I never fucked those sexy kids. Oops! And then it's just like that's how it ends with the end credits going up. They don't even solve the case. But that's how
it's
they.
It's just him shrugging. Like it's just an image of him shrugging.
And there's like an Irish cop, like a really stereotypical Irish cop, and he goes, "I know you did something. I know it, and I'm gonna catch you for it." And it's like every 5 minutes he comes into the screen, and he goes, "I didn't do nothing," and he keeps shrugging, and that's every scene. Every scene ends like that. That's how they cheaply connect this movie. I love doing that Irish voice. It's very racist, but that's how they connected this movie to The Conjuring. They were like, "Well, there is this couple. We can call them, but we couldn't afford them for this movie, basically." And I was like, "Well, are they going to show them in this movie?" And then, of course, they didn't.
They're creating their own Avengers universe. It's like the Marvel universe, but like with this,
the bullshit detector universe. That's what they should call this. With these bullshit stories. Anyway,
we should rate this. I think.
Let's rate this movie. I really feel like we reviewed Mortal Kombat and Batman v Superman more than this film. But Annabelle
and Rosemary's Baby, we definitely reviewed that too.
It looks pretty, not put well together as a film. Very boring, too long for its own good. Would have made a good 15-minute film. I would give this movie a 4 out of 10.
Agree on that.
Huh? Yeah. Okay.
No, I was going to give it a 4 too.
A 4 out of 10, maybe a 3 out of 10. Maybe a 3. I'll give it a 4. I'm being nice today. 4 out of 10, taking photographs of a mother and her daughter very creepily and saying weird religious stuff to them.
Alright. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. 3.9 out of 10. Yeah, 3.9 out of 10 You know, woman being killed off and no one cares.
And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Father Perez.
The horror deconstruction.